So yeah, for JM, I made this signal subgraph at time. So he had a good question, which was basically, okay, let's say I just want the RTH low time frame delta pivots. So there wasn't really any good way to just pull that value forward and ignore these others without screwing up you can change the times here without screwing up the logic. And there wasn't any way in here to just extract the RTH value. So he gave me the idea of doing a signal subgraph at time. So it's just you set the signal and the time to pull the value, and it holds that value until that time rolls around again. So in this one, it'll be pulling the RTH pivot values. Now, I suppose there may be a smarter way to do this where I don't have to pull in, where you don't have to, bring 7 subgraphs onto the seven of these guys on. I'll have to look into that, see if we can just yank the whole thing at a given time, but I'm not necessarily sure that's the best thing either. This is not too onerous, pretty simple study. And so again, fairly straightforward. I hope it's another useful addition to the Signal series. Just a little, always looking to make better kind of small tools to give you an erector set to build what you envision here, using this kind of code-free stuff, but giving you the ability to do, ultimately you can connect it to do some pretty sophisticated things. So if anyone has any questions, we can tackle those. Otherwise, I was thinking of messing around with one thing that I haven't explored on this, in office hours yet, which I want to look at, is using, okay, so this was another thing from, let's see, reset. Let me do reset defaults. So, um, let's bring it back on there. Okay, so on the stats collector, one of the things we hadn't talked about, and I had an error on it that who caught it this last week. I was looking at it was JM again, so both of these are shout out thank you to JM. So JM caught a bug here that I had on using an exit signal for long. So let me show you something. Let's drop a VWAP on here. Let's actually do RTH VWAP. So let's do this. I don't mean to do the stats collector with nothing on it, but don't matter right now. Let's duplicate the chart. I'm going to do this. Clear everything off of this. I'm going to let's make a 1 minute chart that's RTH only. And then what you're going to do, 8:30. I don't like that. So what I want to do here is so we're going to drop an RTH VWAP on here, pull it over to the 750 volume chart. And then I want to show you a couple different ways you can try to use sort of a dynamic take profit or dynamic stop. I think we're going to do dynamic take profit here. Let's see, we're going to do VWAP. Let me turn this guy white and turn these guys off. Ignore. Let's do RTH, VWAP, apply. Okay. I want to overlay it. Let me do this right quick. Let's pull the stats collector off. And then sorry, not what I want to do. I want to go to study price overlay. And then from that, I want to overlay this RTH VWAP, but we got to be careful. put on the main chart. We gotta be careful to probably do containing match, which looks about right. So containing match, and then maybe we can change the style so it's a little bit easier to see. Let's do this. I don't want to do dash. I'll do a line, and let's do a line that's, I don't know, green color. All right. So one of the things we could try to do if we wanted to use this, so using VWAP as a mean reversion target, which boy would that have been painful today. But if we use VWAP as a mean reversion target, and we could play around with maybe a dynamic stop as well, something along these lines. You could, if you do it like this, all right, so if you, on our stats collector, if you have a bracket take profit subgraph, that's going to give you something that maybe you don't want. So it's going to give you, let's do this. Let me do an entry signal here right quick. We're going to do, I don't know, let's do it. Let's do a mean reversion on, I don't know, buying the one. Do we want to do that? Do we want to buy the one? Buy the two. It might give us a little more slack from open. So let's do this. Let's buy the two and sell the two and target VWAP. And so how do we want to do that real quick? So this is, I need to make sure I have these labeled right. 2B, 2B, and then this is 1B. I want to do, this ought to be 2A, 2A. All right, so I had 2A and 2B there. And I want to do a proximity signal. So when we touch those, I trigger a subgraph, trigger signal here. And so let's see, I want to go right to the level. And, you know, let's actually do whatever. We'll do any touch right now. So I'm going to say 2A. And that, you know, let's have this so only fire once an hour. And only fire, I don't know, we can fire all day, but let's only do it once an hour. And let's see what it comes up with. Okay. So, yellow. Why is that? Why did it not trigger any other time? So what I want to know is why didn't it fire up here? Oh, probably because it hit it right before. So it was an hour. So, all right. Yeah, let's do use session times. Then we can go, yeah, whatever. We can do it during RTH. That's fine. Okay. So that would be 2A touch. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to do 2B touch. I'm going to do this guy. I'm going to do the 2B. All right, so that's in a 2B, and we're going to have a filter so it only hits it, you know, once an hour. Because so that it doesn't fire, you know, on every one of these little oscillations around it. So, all right. And then let's do, because I like doing this. I think the PA zigzag, let's use this to define stop and take profit. So I'll do this. Let's do, because we're looking at every touches every hour. Let's have an hourly grouping, and we can do like this. So this is giving us sort of rotations you can think about over a time period. So I'm going to try to use this sort of average 30-minute rotation here to define a stop. So I'm going to say it's, it ends up being like whatever, a 20 point stop, something like that. And we're going to add that to the 2A and the 2B here. So I want to, let's do this. And then we're going to do signal subgraphs. And I'm going to say 2A plus rotation. And so this is going to be 2A. And this one's going to be your PA zigzag. And we're going to do average rotation. And it's going to go in chart 1. And I want it to be, I don't know, I would be orange. All right, so that's going to be my stop for the cell. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to do, oh wait, I don't want to duplicate it because I have to do signal subgraphs difference. And I want to do 2B minus rotation. All right, so input study is going to be 2B, and we're going to do PA zigzag, average rotation, and I'm going to make this one, I don't know, let's make it that. Sorry. All right there. So that's going to be our stop on the bottom. And let's do this. I'm just sanity checking this right now. So okay, so what we're going to want to do with this strategy that just totally making up on the spot here, we're going to say I hit this guy, I want to sell it with this stop, and then we're going to trigger that sort of every hour. We'll take that trade there in RTH, and so it becomes sort of unnecessary to do. Since we're doing RTH, we can just make this a little less complicated. So we're going to take these. Well, you know what? We have it. I'm not going to take it off. I could just do it on the underlying LTF delta pivot study since we've just restricted to RTH only. But whatever. Let's leave it like this for now. And here what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, with the stats, what I want to do now. Okay, so back to what I originally wanted to show. And now that I have some things fixed here, again, thank you, JM, for pointing out some of my mistakes. I'm going to do on procs because I'm simulating putting a limit in at these levels. So again, with the caveat that you have to be careful because sometimes if it goes to the tick, you're not necessarily going to get a fill in real life. But so for the longs, I want to long the 2B touch, and I want to do, I think it's a pure proximity signal, and I'm going to use a bracket stop type is going to be subgraph based, and I'm going to stop out at this 2B minus rotation guy. All right, now if I do take profit type, and I go, okay, I want to do subgraph based take profit, I want to target VWAP. See what that would look like. All right, we could do VWAP. I do like this. Let's just do longs for now. We can put in the shorts here in just a minute, just to show you guys what is going on. See all the drawings. Make sure this thing's working right. All right, something's messed up about the stop here. So I want the stop to be why is it not picking up the stop appropriately? I want this huge stop. Oh, let's see. This one's goofy. So, oh, 2B. minus an average rotation. Should be giving me, shouldn't be giving me a, oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, now it's doing it right. I don't know what was going on there for a second. Okay. All right, so now you can see what it's doing. It's maybe a little faint here on the chart. But all right, we're touching this 2B. It's putting us in a trade with our bracket here, determined by this dynamic stop width, based on an average rotation over an hour, right here. And then it's targeting VWAP. And you notice that it's targeting VWAP based on the VWAP at the time of the trade entry. But that may not be what you want. You may want to do it right when it crosses VWAP. All right, so you may want to do it on a touch of VWAP. And what I want to do then is let's implement that. So because I have the machinery here to do these sort of crossover exits. Obviously you can do crossover entries, but let's look at a crossover exit here, using this. I'm going to say we want to get out of the trade when when we cross VWAP. So that would be this use exit signal for long trades. And same thing, I have an on-bar close and on proximity. And what we're going to want to do here is I'm going to do signal subgraph proximity. So again, I want to do a touch of VWAP, and I'm going to say this should be VWAP, pure proximity, and sorry, I want to do, and then I don't want to use time interval because I want to trigger anytime we touch VWAP. And all right, I'm going to probably, let's make this, I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to hide it because otherwise we're going to get a bunch of messy yellow bars. But what I want to do is I want to see that it takes us out right there when we first cross VWAP. When I do this, is I want to say, all right, use the exit signal for long on procs. So right when we hit VWAP, it can be a little more realistic and do it on close. But whatever, let's do on procs for now. If we could get out right at the VWAP. All right, well, let's see if it takes us out there correctly. I'm going to say, and I'm actually going to turn off that. Yep, okay, so there we go. Right, I'm just kind of curious to take the stats down a little bit, but it doesn't matter. That's not the point. So again, same thing. Look in here. Right. So then let's try, I'm just going to throw in let's do the short side because why the hell not? Just to see how this thing works. All right, so I want to mimic this same thing. I'm going to say short signal on procs. This is going to be a 2A for above, 2A touch. I always mix those up. So then I want to bracket stop subgraph based on the stop to be at 2A plus rotation. So that kind of orange yellow line. I'm not going to do a take profit. I'm going to do I'm going to use this exit signal for short trades on procs. And I'm also going to do the VWAP touch, pure proximity. And let's turn all these on. They're all on. All right. Sweet. All right, so not a huge sample size, but it does look like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I like it. All right, so yeah, again, this is one thing, and JM had caught I had a very ridiculous bug where I was embarrassingly casting a float to an integer too early. It took me forever to figure out what the hell was going on. You wouldn't really notice it that much on NQ and ES. It'd be a very small discrepancy, but it was a huge discrepancy on bonds. So anyhow, that's fixed. So now you can test these sorts of, again, very popular for trend following type, crossover strategies. And so for dynamic, where you can use a subgraph based exits for subgraphs that move would be the main point, right? So otherwise, you're kind of locked into you would be sort of locked into testing the value at the um, initial at the entry. So I hope that was kind of was clear. I know I moved kind of fast on this, but if you have any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, we can mess around and see what else we can do here. Um, so the other thing that you might want to do, since this is a mean reversion strategy, I wonder. Let's talk about something that would have been giga pain today, but you could do like, um, you could turn off the stop if you really want to do mean reversion strategies. A lot of times they're basically like, you're looking for smaller wins relative to the risk you're taking and banking on having mean reverting behavior often enough to mean that you don't, you know, some days you're just gonna have to uh, eat it pretty hard, and that's the risk you're getting paid to take. Let's see. So let's turn off the stops. All right, so then you enter on the touch, and then you're going, and then you're gonna kill a trade at the end of the day. Let's try that. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see what's going on there. So I got to look into this one because it's giving me a sharp ratio that, again, makes absolutely no sense. So I'm glad I looked at it. Looks like it's entering the trades properly. Um, but it doesn't look like, let's see. This would be something, again, getting totally wrecked today. Um, you would have had a 13K loss on today somehow. Let's see. Yeah, 13K loss, epic. Um, Something weird is going on here, so that I've got to look into. Is this sharp ratio on daily returns makes absolutely no sense, but it could be that. Let's actually do this because I actually want to see what the output is. So let's do this. Let's see what the hell is going on here. It could be like that loss because it's a very small number of days in the sample, all things considered, and this being so huge that if we've counted this loss here, but it hadn't been accounted for yet in the sharp ratios, some things about when these things get recalculated based on time of day. I basically, like, at the end of the day I should be collecting. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna do daily returns. So anyhow, I'm aggregating these trades over a day and then calculating the stats on the daily returns at the end of the day. Let's do it like this. I want to say RTM delta pivots dot CSV. You always got to do it as a dot CSV and apply. Let's turn that off. So once it's written, I don't need to see it again. And let me open this here. So it should spit out my data folder. See your chart, all files. Okay, this guy. All right. So yeah, I was right on that. Okay, so it hadn't logged this return yet. I think it's going to be probably RTH open tomorrow. It would have that data in there. So anyhow, so that's why it looks pretty decent there. So something about let's do a longer look back. Let's see. Let's do a longer look back. Let me get this out of the way. So this is like again a good warning about sample size because that's a banger Sharpe ratio if it's real. Odds of that being real are really small, unless you're doing something very sophisticated, probably, uh, but or multi-asset. Um, but again, you'd say this is an absurd Sharpe ratio. Well, you only have a sample of 28 trades, and this one, because of the nature of the strategy, because it's something that's going to have an enormous negative skew by design, which is interesting because you don't even see this skew. You don't even see the skew here. It looks like it's got positive skew. That's because in sample it's got positive skew. Okay, but these sample metrics don't know what your strategy looks like. Anyone could look at this strategy and be like, you're trading, you're naked there. You got no stop. You're taking on giga risk, and so beware stats, right? Like this is something where you have to think more about exactly what you're doing and not get sucked in by numbers. And so still longer look back and just see. I don't know. We got 180 days
Why is the Sharpe positive if it has negative P&L?
because it's accounted for the trades P&L, but it hadn't updated the Sharpe ratio calculation because it hasn't updated the daily returns here. Does that make sense? So it's doing a couple of different calculations. Um, One is that it's calculating trade by trade some things, and one it's calculating end of day some things. And so Sharpe ratio from daily returns, anything where it says daily returns is doing a calculation basically at the open of the next day, maybe midnight. I'd have to look at my code here, but it hadn't logged it yet. So it's not capturing today's giga loss. So in this sample, it looked good at the daily returns, but it had accounted for that big loss at the end there, on this upper part, right? So you can see worst loss, right? Like it says that's your worst loss in sample. So it sees it here. It just doesn't see it on the daily returns, if that makes sense. Because what I do in the code is it builds a list every day of the trades you took, and then it aggregates them once a day, and updates the daily return stats based on that. So again, like tomorrow, run this again tomorrow. The same, I can put the chart book in there and run it again tomorrow, and it'll show the daily returns now with this in there. It's interesting. You put on a longer look back, and you see indeed it's negative skew, probably not as negative skew as it will be when it sees it tomorrow. When it sees this giga negative return, but um, and it's Sharpe ratio being flat there, basically your return being zero modulo your one most recent worst trade. So one of the metrics I could put in here that would be nice. It's the inverse of max drawdown is max run up. That may be worth thinking about. So, and then one second here, let's do, I'm just curious, we can look at this. Let's output the returns to file and overwrite that other guy. Let's see if it mattered that I had it open, so it's not going to do it. All right. Yeah, because this one, you would have to have it closed because has to grab a lock on the file to override it. All right, let me do this. File open. This guy. But you can see that you can kind of see the skew and sample on these by and large is that your wins are a lot smaller in general than your losses. Um, but yeah, anyhow, I know there's got to be a lot better ways to do intraday mean reversion. My purpose here is not trying to find things that have alpha, but showing you all the stuff that we can do with these tools so that you can test the ideas that you have and hopefully find alpha. Um, so I wonder what else. The other things you could think about are doing a trend filter on this, which we've gone over before. Again, you could kind of look at, are there higher time frame trend conditions in which it's favorable to buy the dip using this idea. Um, but all this to say, just show you some of the cool features that we got here, and that I think this using these dynamic exits is definitely something worth playing with. Again, I know a lot of intraday trading is very much bracket based, and that's in some ways easier to analyze, let's say, especially if you use very consistent sizing on things. But I do think that this is very much worthwhile, and I think that there's a lot you can do with it. You can now we did mean reversion here, but you could test yeah, again, you could test crossover, moving average crossover entries and exits. Same thing. I mean, you can basically use this dynamic signal to catch when your trend has turned. Um, Let me see real. One of the things I wanted to try. I played with this a little bit before, but let's take a look at it. Unless anyone has anything else they want to do, go over. But what I wanted to do here is, all right. So we have. So one of my gripes with Sierra is that they don't have a good way to build a how do I want to say this? I would want to say what I'd like to see is the roll adjusted spread from the front 2 months of the futures curve. So what I want to do is I basically want a carry measure, right? I want to see what the roll down on the forward curve is, and use that to estimate. You should be getting some kind of carry premium every day as you move towards expiration. Is that the as a function of the forward months converging to spot, right? So that is something, talk about a negative skew, but that's one thing you'd want to do now with and one of the things that has historically premium to be harvested there. One way of harvesting volatility premium is shorting VIX futures. Alternatively, you could buy VIX, you could buy VX calls. Um, but sorry, buying VX puts. I mean, is that basically you have a selling VX calls. You have a roll down, and typically you have. I'm gonna draw a picture. Let's see, paint. All right, so typically you have like, all right, if this is time zero, and this is spot price, spot VIX. So spot VIX living here somewhere, and then in normal VIX and contango VIX, that your VX front month is here, and you've usually got some shape like this. Now, when shit goes absolutely crazy, the curve, instead of having a curve that looks like this, you've got one that inverts, and spot VIX goes very high, and VX futures don't go as high because volatility mean reverts, and markets get that. So then it looks like that. So typically, you're collecting a roll down premium as you get closer to expiration, is because this guy, either from VIX coming up or VX futures going down. But long term, if you put down a back adjusted price series, the VX for a VX future, it'll go up and up and up. Actually, a fun one to do is Nat Gas has the same thing. The Nat Gas has very strong roll down, and then it has these moments where it goes into backwardation, as it's called, and has a giga skew. So like, but like if you put Nat Gas futures with a back adjustment, go back, you get these like insane prices that aren't realistic. It's back adjusted. Bottom line is that, if you go back and the price goes up and up and up and up, that's a sign that you have very strong roll down on the future. If that makes sense. So one of the things I wanted to do is for VIX, a regime indicator, like are you in a vol spike, high vol regime, or are you not? Are you in backwardation or not uh, on the forward curve? Now, I'd like to be able to do that for different instruments that I don't necessarily have spot data for. But the nice thing here is I have spot data for VIX. And so even though Sierra chart doesn't give me the ability that I want to look at like a carry signal, I'll take VWAP off of that. But so fun day in the market today. Um, the so even though they don't have this ability to do that with back adjusting the spread like I'd like in a convenient way, certainly not that I've figured out. If one of y'all figures that out, please tell me. What we can do is I can do front. I can do front month VX futures rel VIX, and we can use that to get an indication of the volatility regime. So I'm going to let me do it like this. Let's do another chart, and I'm going to do like this. I'm going to do CFE. I guess I stopped paying for that. Let's see, CFE. I don't know if we want to do. Let's see. It may say change to the next. I want to do volume-based rollover, but I don't want to back adjust it. Symbol needs rollover. Okay. Okay. So, and you can see this. All right. This, we've that's a contango event. So real high spike on VIX, lower spike on VX. All right. People getting all upset about their taking positions because you can't buy VIX, but you can buy VX futures, and because of this difference, it's not necessarily the hedge you want. It's not necessarily going to act the you may have a lot of alpha, let's say, predicting VIX, and it can be hard to realize trading VX, is what I mean to say. Um, but let's do this. Let's take the difference. Let's take study price overlay, and I want to overlay spot VIX, and let's hide it for now. And then I want to do this. I want to take so what I want to do is I want to say we're in a vol spike regime if VIX minus Vx is positive, and if Vx minus Vix is positive, I want to say we're in a normal regime. So study subgraphs difference. So the question is, which one do we want to be the kind of main guy? So let's do last minus Vix. Wait, so sorry. Let's do last main price minus Vix last. Okay. So again, you're sort of, and they can happen awfully fast. You're sort of a normal regime here, and then boom, you're in backwardation, high vol segment here. So we could try to use this. Like really, what you'd want to do would be something more. I'd probably do like a quantile analysis. You say like you could take this price series, more discrete, do it on a daily basis or something like that over a long period of time, and try to sort, you know, again in a way that doesn't incur hopefully too much look ahead bias. Do train test, right? Take some sample period, look at the quantile values. So you'd say like, all right, when VIX is in the, or when this difference, right, when this roll down is very positive, in the positive highest quantile, how does our strategy behave? And when it's in the lowest one, right? So it's the most like high vol backward, how does it perform? But you could do something simpler here, which is just, for now, you could do something like use our signal filter and just say like, I only want to, when am I going to eat giga shit on mean reversion is when we have a bad uh, vol event. So I can try to use this as an early exit signal. So be like, all right, if we cross zero on this guy, if we go into backwardation, you probably have lost a lot, but you wouldn't have lost. Let's see. Yeah, get too back fitty, not to get too over fitty. But you could try to hedge your bets by saying, all right, just get me out when it's zero. So let's do that. Let's do. Um, uh, I want to do horizontal line and horizontal line value 0. And I'll do it on this. Sorry, I want to do it on chart region 2. And we do it there like that. All right, so I could use this, and then I could say, all right, I want to get a, let's see if we use a prox signal for this. So study subgraph proximity. And let's do prox based on study subgraphs difference crossing 0. Let's see, and then I want to do horizontal line 1. Any touch, use time interval, no. Let's see if this works. So let's see. All right, so I guess I can't do this. I wonder why. I'd like to, and maybe I have to modify this. What I'd like to see is that, okay, so that's not working the way I'd want it to. So I'd have to use something like, for now, unfortunately. Let's do, we can do this. We can do color bar based on above, below. All right, and then so I would say input data. Oh, sorry. Okay, diff. All right. Okay, so that's a hack. That'll work. Um, let's see where else we go below 0. Probably none in this sample. Oh, yeah, we go here again. So let's get a little longer look back. Not that long. All right. So we have. All right. Then what we could do is we could then overlay this guy as a binary signal. Let's overlay this guy. See if we can get that to look nice. Study price overlay. See if we can do this reasonably. So I'm going to say let's overlay the color bar based on above, below. Let's just see what that does. All right. It only colors the bar, which is unfortunate. So I wanted to get something that gives me, I could do a color bar alert. Um, let's do this. Let's take this guy off, and we'll just have to do a little color bar alert. Remove. All right. So surprised they don't. They should have a crossover. Mm, yeah, I would. What I would like to do is do this with the procs, but have the proc signal trigger on the main chart. But I think the problem is that it's doing a procs is looking at OHLC bars somehow, and these are not appropriate bar type. I'm trying to think if there's another simpler way to do this. Oh, there's something called forward curve. What's forward curve do? Oh, shit. Yeah, I know this will just show you the forward curve. Because what I want is a historical representation of a forward curve. I'm not interested in the spot forward curve, per se. Like, I'm not interested in the forward curve right now. I want the historical data. So that's what that does. Um, all right. Well, I broke it. So you know, I broke VX. It's okay. Um, yeah, maybe another time. The thing that I would like to look at is probably look at quantiles. And what we would do is look at mean reversion strategy performance based on previous day, VIX, contango, or backwardation quantile, right? And sort of the difference from front month VX, not back adjusted, right? Because I want to see the actual VX versus VIX the way you would have seen it at the time. So looking at that non-back adjusted but rolled VX versus spot VIX, and then using that, seeing what does the distribution of that guy look like? What's normal look like? And what does abnormal look like? And then taking normal versus abnormal and looking at, using that using that to define a filter, right? Using that to define a level that, with the backwardation beyond a certain point, we're in a bad regime, and then seeing the performance of something like this crude mean reversion strategy. Again, I'm sure there's a lot better ones that you could come up with. But looking at performance of these strategies in these different regimes, but this is not cooperating with me right now. And rather than waste you guys' time, that's for my homework. I don't think we're going to do office hours next week because it's Christmas Day next week. And then it's New Year's right after that. So probably not going to do this until the 8th. So 2 weeks out. But my homework for 2 weeks out is going to be to do this sort of analysis for you guys, and I can make a little computer program, a Python program, whatever, put it on my GitHub, share it with you guys to do this sort of analysis, and we could walk through that and how you could use it in conjunction with our tools to analyze, hopefully in a rigorous way, filtering, deciding when you want to play, right? Deciding when a strategy may be worth going into on a given day based on the vol regime, based on your knowledge kind of up to that point the previous day. So anyhow, I look forward to doing that, but I should probably wait until rather than try to hack something on the fly here, as interesting as that may be. Um, so with that, I think I'll probably shut it down unless anyone has any other questions. Let's see. Did my mic turn you guys off?
No.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Just making sure I didn't do it like that last time where everyone was trying to
Yeah.
talk and I couldn't hear anyone. All right. Well,
Yeah, no. Lots to think about. Cool stuff.
all right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out tonight, and I hope y'all have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll catch y'all hopefully on the 8th of January for getting back into these. But I hope y'all enjoy a good time with family and whatnot.
Thanks, man. You too.
All right,
See you later.
take care, guys.